Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us as always. Welcome to the Hell's Kitchen Classroom. Today we'll be discussing Gordon Ramsay's hit reality cooking show, up to 20 contestants, narrowed down to just one winner. Nah, I'm kidding. We're talking about Daredevil.
Kick their ass.
Daredevil began airing on April 10th, 2015, with every episode of Season 1 releasing all at once. I remember when this happened. When I was a boy. The second and third seasons released in 2016 and 2018 respectively, each of the three with 13 episodes. And through a few cameo appearances and the sheer incredible quality of this main series, people have never forgotten this Daredevil. And now there's a soft reboot of the series releasing right now on Disney+, Daredevil Born Again, after the Miller and Mazzucchelli comic of the same name. So today we're going to be going through each of the Netflix seasons and then do a bit on the soft reboot. God, I'm so excited.
Perhaps this would be easier if you tell me what you've done.
I'm not seeking penance for what I've done, Father. I'm asking forgiveness for what I'm about to do.
Daredevil stars Matthew Murdock, a man of many sides and contradictions, a Catholic who dresses up like the devil to inflict his wrath in his home, Hell's Kitchen. As you'll find with most people, there are many words you can use to describe Matt Murdock. Caring, hypocritical, horny, but the main one I like to use is moody. This is the first thing I always notice about Charlie Cox's portrayal of Matthew Murdock, which has become one of my favorite comic book performances of all time, which this show actually has a few of. His introductory scene sitting in confession with Father Lantom asking for grace before he beats the living shit out of people who absolutely deserve it really captures what I love about this character. As someone who was raised Catholic, I even bought frankincense just for the writing of this video. I really appreciate this side of Matthew a lot. Even when fighting a completely good fight, he feels an overwhelming sense of guilt. This fight at the shipping yards is a great introduction to the larger world of Daredevil, as opposed to the close and intimate time we get with Matthew in the confession booth. That came out a lot more sexual than I meant, but this is a Daredevil video. We see how truly awful the state of affairs in Marvel's New York City is, especially after the incident. We meet recurring criminal Turk Barrett and even have a surprisingly funny moment in this sex trafficking scene. Daredevil is a dark show, indicative of the Marvel Knights-esque brand the Netflix MCU stuff was going for, but that doesn't mean there aren't light moments. Hell's Kitchen is a sad, dangerous place in this series, constantly caught in the churn of organized and less organized crime. But the neighborhood is also filled with good people. Most people we meet in the kitchen are those good people. Josie of the bar fame, the night nurse Claire, Mrs. Cardenas and her fellow tenants, with the true beacon of fluorescent light in Hell's Kitchen being the humble offices of Nelson and Murdock.
How do you say lawyers in Spanish?
Lawyers? Abogados.
El Grande Avocados.
That's not Spanish. That's fruit.
Franklin Foggy Nelson and his partner Matthew Murdock are new hotshot defense attorneys looking to provide legal counsel for the good people of Hell's Kitchen, with the help of their secretary and professional getter into trouble, Karen Page. Paid in well wishes and homemade Guatemalan dishes, I don't think they've ever done a job that wasn't pro bono. Now, there is one person that I haven't mentioned yet who is extremely important to Daredevil. Not just in this show, not just in a comic, but always and forever. And there's one reason why I haven't. We don't say his name. Wilson Fisk. Okay, I can do this. Wilson Fisk is the newest crime lord to tie together the most powerful, disparate crime syndicates of New York City. But Wilson Fisk, gets easier every time, is no ordinary criminal. He isn't just looking to run the drug trade, plunder women and children, or mine dragon bones to achieve access to a magical city. Wilson Fisk is trying to make New York City something better than it is. Something beautiful. An extremely organized, almost pristine man who makes the same incredible looking omelet and listens to the same classical song every morning. An appreciator of the arts and a truly loving partner. He is also a complete fucking animal. But now that we've gone over Fisk and the Russians, we can introduce the other elements of crime that help make this first season feel so special. For the white guys with glasses contingency, we of course have Wesley, Fisk's loyal man-dog hybrid, but we also have Leland Owlsley, money man for Kingpin and the Crime Club, and while normally I would be against clipping the metaphorical wings of such a silly comic book villain, Leland might be the funniest character in the first season.
Know how much all that costs? I do.
We're taking care of it, Leland.
Well, let's have a parade. You burned him alive? Christ.
Madame Gao runs maybe the least ethical heroin trade I've ever seen, and I've seen so many of them, but she's also her. Madame Gao is one of the only people who is able to talk down to a man of Fisk's stature. And finally, Nobu representing the Yakuza, and while normally it's racist to assume that a man involved in Japanese crime is also an immortal ninja, this is a Daredevil show. Nobu is in a group called The Hand, but we'll talk about them more later. The first season of Daredevil is a very close personal experience, not just because once again I feel like this series was crafted in the Vatican for me specifically, but because of what it chooses to do with the plot. The big criminal plot that Daredevil and the offices of Nelson and Murdoch have to stop is just Fisk acquiring a large number of city blocks in Hell's Kitchen. It's realistically simple. It's also about the relationship between the two most important names in Daredevil, Nelson and Murdoch. As the most important person besides God and the devil in Maddie's life for many years, putting this relationship through the ringer is both a great and horrible thing. Franklin Foggy Nelson is always an extremely important part of Daredevil. If we as an audience don't care about Matt Murdock's life, especially someone so close to him, a lot of this series just doesn't work. Which is why it's good that Eldon Henson does an incredible job in this series. Sure, he can be a little corny and annoying, but that's who Foggy Nelson is. And rounding out the offices of Nelson, Murdoch, and Page, Deborah Ann Wold does an equally good job as Karen Page. Constantly caught in a cycle of tragedy and drama, just trying to do the right thing, but that's who Karen Page is. And I would say that this season is all about Matt Murdock's life falling apart, but that's just who Matt Murdock is. There are a lot of running plot threads in the series. I mean, you have to have a lot of them to make 13-hour-long episodes work, but my favorite, unsurprisingly, is Daredevil and the Kingpin. Vincent D'Onofrio does an amazing job as Fisk. Even the kid that plays him in the flashbacks is great. He is just as layered and hypocritical a man as Matt Murdock. He's a horrifically violent man, but that being said, I do genuinely believe that in his own way, He is in love with Vanessa as she is with him. He's extremely well spoken, you hang on his every word, but every word also hints at a genuine rage hidden beneath the surface, until it comes out.
I wanted to make this city something better than it is. Something beautiful. You took that away from me! You took everything! I'm gonna kill you!
The first season of Daredevil is one of the most pristine, perfect pieces of comic book media I have ever gotten to experience. Daredevil Season 2 is a mixed bag. I don't even like Chex Mix. I hate them. I just wanted to do this bit. Season 2 of Daredevil released in 2016. Like I said, God, don't you ever listen? It starts off on a fantastic note, with a few episodes fully dedicated to establishing the new, more successful status quo of Nelson and Murdoch, the imprisonment of Wilson Fisk, and the arrival...
No, they... him... It's one man.
...of the Punisher.
I mean, hold on, sure I can't get you anything else? You know, I got it all, man. Yeah, bondage, backdoor, grannies, or maybe you're in the market for something younger. She's barely 12. Guaranteed. Haha, you like that, huh? For $100, she's all yours. That's my man. What the hell are you doing? Hey, man, just take it easy.
I've never liked the Punisher.
You need to leave!
Growing up in the wake of 9/11 and the endless wars in the Middle East, America became an extremely violent nation, culturally at least. I think because of this, I grew to appreciate the kind and caring heroes more and more. Ones that vowed not to kill, or at least would try, like, really hard not to. And because of this, I never really liked the Punisher, and I let that get in the way of my experience the first time I watched Season 2 of Daredevil, but this time I tried to put that aside, and I'm so glad I did, because Jon Bernthal is incredible.
I think you're wrong.
Which part?
All of it. I think there's no good in the filth that I put down, that's what I think.
And how do you know?
I just know. Look around, man. This city, it stinks. It's a sewer. It stinks and it smells like shit, and I can't get the stink out of my nose. I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call. That's what I think. I think you and me are the same. We're the same. You know it. Only I do the one thing that you can't. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent.
The Punisher has arrived in Hell's Kitchen, going to war with the Irish, the biker gangs, and the cartels. This obviously puts him at odds with Daredevil, since despite it being the question he grapples with literally every season, Daredevil doesn't kill people who can't come back to life. This helps a lot with my anti-Punisher bias, considering I think he's generally a lot more interesting as an antagonistic character who is still on the side of good generally. The other aspect of the early season I really like is Karen Page. While the first season focused more on the relationship between Matt and Foggy, this one focuses more on... okay, you get it. Karen isn't just a really compelling love interest for Matt, having clear care and respect for him from the first time he helped her, but she's also fantastic in the Punisher plotline. Her and Frank Castle form a special, somewhat trusting bond, with Karen at many times being the only person who wants to keep looking into Frank, wants to keep helping him. And the second plotline of Season 2, The Hand, is... I don't like being negative about stuff as much as I like being positive. That's why the part about Season 2 isn't gonna be as long. Season 2 is still Daredevil. It's still really fantastic. It's still way better than most TV shows out there, but one half of it just isn't as incredibly still really fantastic as the rest of the show. I like the Hand conceptually. They feel like a really important part of the Marvel universe. They introduce a lot of cool characters and ideas, and are legitimately very threatening. However, the more we see of them, the less interesting and, more importantly, less entertaining I find them. I think to make the Hand compelling, you should see as little of them as possible. I call this the sleight of the hand technique. I really like Elektra. For the most part, I actually really like Elektra, but she also suffers a bit from the same thing. She goes from feeling mysterious and dangerous to feeling predictably unstable, and stops presenting a new side to Matt Murdock, which is probably the most interesting thing about her. I also enjoy seeing Stick again. As one of the only people that can meet Matt on his level, I always like seeing him, but like a lot of stuff in this season, I like him more in Season 1. One extra compliment I will give this season though is, despite maybe my favorite character in the entire show, Kingpin, not being present for the majority of it, I didn't even realize this until we see him again. Speaking of which, seeing Fisk become the Kingpin of prison is fantastic, and unsurprisingly one of my favorite parts of the season. I also, as always, love when Matt Murdock's life falls apart, and Elektra is believably manipulative and unbelievably hot enough to make Matt's borderline devotion to her make sense. Like, she literally breaks into Matt's apartment after the happiest he's ever been in the show. That's some Daredevil right there, baby. Combined with the Kingpin getting the Punisher free from prison, this season does have a lot of that's some Daredevil right there, baby. But by the time the finale comes, there's just been too much ninja combat where I know Daredevil isn't gonna fucking die, and Elektra being crazy, but just not in a fun or interesting way, and the Punisher aura farming. Yes, Frank, we see the fit. And now we get to talk about one of the best things ever created, Daredevil Season 3. But first, we have a much worse show to discuss. The MCU's first foray into having way too much stuff going on was the Netflix Marvel series. 4 different New York-based vigilante shows of extremely varying quality, culminating in their own Avengers 1, The Defenders. I might talk about these shows someday if people want me to, but all I'm gonna talk about right now is what isn't here. Not watching the other Netflix CU shows is not at all a problem until the premiere of Season 3. The jump between the end of Season 2 and the beginning of 3 is genuinely hilarious, and it's all because of the Defenders.
I'm Daredevil.
I'm the trash man!
I don't want to talk about the Defenders anymore. After rewatching the whole show, 3 is the absolute best season of Daredevil, and if you disagree, I fucking despise you, but it's okay, baby girl, we all have our preferences. It's the most well-paced, best shot, scored, acted, the new characters are some of the best in the series, and our returning ones all have great arcs. The stakes not only feel the highest, but the most real, and they got rid of that blue filter that I didn't even realize was on the first 2 seasons. Daredevil Season 3 mainly takes inspiration from Daredevil Born Again, before Daredevil Born Again got the chance to mainly take inspiration from Daredevil Born Again. After the events of the Defenders, which I vaguely remember from watching it in high school, Matthew has been found barely alive, partially deaf, and is recovering at St. Agnes Orphanage where he grew up. Season 3 is the moodiest Matt has ever been, going from despondent at his injuries and losing Elektra again, to overjoyed at being able to hear the trains again, big points for the Matt Murdock is autistic crowd, to even ending his first night back at crime fighting by trying to commit martyrdom. In Season 3, Matt Murdock, as he was formerly known, has made a decision.
I'm Daredevil. Not even God can stop that now.
With Karen now working for the Bulletin and Foggy doing some less ethical but more profitable law with the Catholic noose off his neck, Matt can just stay dead, fully committing himself to putting Fisk behind bars, permanently the bars of death and hellfire, and Fisk, beyond his main goal of getting the FBI in his pocket, rotundly squeezing his way out of prison and being reunited with his beloved Vanessa, is following up on his promise from last season.
But I have something to say to you. When I finally get out of this cage, I will dismantle the lives of the two amateurs that put me in here. You, Mr. Murdoch, and Franklin Percy Nelson.
Daredevil Season 3 isn't just great for how great it is, it's great because this is just a Daredevil comic that I'm watching on screen. I would also say this of Season 2, but it just doesn't feel like that great of a Daredevil comic by the end. We have the Kingpin and Daredevil as sworn enemies, with Fisk using every legal and illegal method to make Murdoch's life a living hell, even the devil himself.
Bullseye, huh?
Yeah, I don't think that the Netflix Bullseye even says the word Bullseye once, so... While the biggest issue with Season 2 was probably a lack of focus, Season 3 feels incredibly tight. Fisk coming back to regain control of the city is such a massive threat that literally everyone has to be on the same page. We've seen how Fisk can become the kingpin of prison, but seeing him bend the Federal Bureau of Investigation to his will is something we have to see firsthand, with Special Agents Ray Nadeem and Benjamin Poindexter. Ray and Ben show what I love about Fisk, how he can manipulate the world around him, but also what I love about this show in general. We have one great adaptation of a comic book villain, and one completely normal guy, but both fantastically written and acted characters. I like saying, oh, Ray and Ben, like they're buddies, when like, I don't think they've ever liked each other at all. Ray shows us how Fisk is able to worm his way into genuinely good people's lives, good parents, people who go into debt for their sister-in-law's cancer treatments without them even knowing that Fisk is such a massive presence in their world. Dex, on the other hand, shows us how Fisk is able to more acutely mold and manipulate unstable people, and Bullseye is literally the scariest villain in the show. Dex is played by Wilson Bethel and portrays this unstable, violent man in an incredibly convincing way. Dex has borderline personality disorder, and people with BPD are usually unfairly portrayed in media. As someone with friends with BPD, that really upsets me. Now that being said, I got permission from one of my best friends in the whole world who has so much BPD to say this exactly. Dex is fucking crazy. Dex stalks and fixates upon Julie, a woman who worked with him at a suicide hotline several years ago, after Dex enlisted into the army, but before joining the FBI and before joining Kingpin's professional suck-off crew. Season 3 also gets a little more experimental at times with the way it likes to show events. We get more flashbacks, and I really like the black and white play we see Dex's past in. Speaking of his past, I really like that we never even get close to learning why Bullseye can do the stuff that he can do. Like, he just can. Don't worry about it. And Dex provides probably the best action in the show. That is a great aspect of the series I haven't mentioned a ton, but he's terrifying. It's amazing. The upstairs-downstairs firefight is really creative, and just seeing him shoot is great, but my favorite Bullseye fight is at the Bulletin.
Who are you? I'm Daredevil.
God damn it, man, just say bullseye one time. The choreography is great. I love the way the camera moves around them in the space, and an office is the best place to have a fight against someone like Bullseye. Or I mean, really the worst place, but... And the fight ending with Bullseye killing Fisk's last witness and traumatizing Karen Page, she hasn't had that enough, hammers home how relentless the Kingpin is this season. Trying to kill Foggy, discrediting Matt, and even sending the devil to a church. Season 3 of Daredevil is probably the best Catholic propaganda since the Bible. At the beginning of the season, Matthew is rescued by his home, having to return to his past to heal, helped by Father Paul Langton and Sister Maggie Grace. With Matt in the catacombs under the church hiding from Fisk and Matt Murdock's life, Paul and especially Maggie are there to mend his soul. I've already talked about how much I like Langton's role in the show, but Sister Maggie Grace is a heavenly... I'm gonna give you time to get new pants from pissing your pants from laughing too hard. A heavenly addition to the cast. Played by Joanne Whalley, this character shows us a new side to Matthew. She can actually help him, give him advice, and tell him to shut up. Because she's a nun, and he's not gonna do anything about it. And this character is even better when you already know.
I don't know if I have the strength to get through this. He's so stubborn, full of fury and foolish pride. Please, watch over him. Keep him from making the same damn mistake that took you from us. Our son is too much like you, Jack.
A lot has been made of Matt's father, Batlin Jack Murdock, in the first few seasons, but his mom has hardly been mentioned. This season and this reveal does more to develop all three of them. We get to see flashbacks to Jack and Maggie meeting, but I especially like how it shows Maggie struggling with postpartum depression before returning to the church. Superhero parents are one of the most well-known tropes in the genre, but I love what Maggie and Jack say about Matt. His violent but loyal side, and his caring but deeply guilty one. Of course, Matt doesn't like this reveal nearly as much as I do, confronting Langton and leaving the church, not getting a chance to say a proper goodbye before... Yeah, Matt's had it too good lately, better kill his priest. If Bullseye committing superhero identity fraud and extreme ass-kicking didn't, doing it to kill a very good and not even creepy priest cements him as the real devil. The first 2 seasons of Daredevil got a little slow at points, especially towards the end of the season, but season 3 only builds momentum as it goes. The murder of Father Langton and Ray Nadeem trying to make good on his mistakes brings Daredevil back to the surface a bit, for help from his friends, and because he'll have to murder Fisk in his high-rise, so. My favorite part of the finale, though, is definitely Bullseye turning against Kingpin. You see Dex stalk Julie pretty consistently, and then after their date, she just disappears until Dex forgets about her, and then makes her his +1.
That's Agent Lim. He's one of the good ones.
One of the biggest things that I love about Daredevil Season 3, after everything else I love about it, is the places it leaves all these characters in. Perfectly preserved in amber for endless imaginary Daredevil ventures, which is kind of funny now. Vanessa once again slips through Fisk's sausage-like fingers, our heroes set up Nelson, Murdock, and Page, but my favorite conclusion is Agent Ray Nadeem. Poindexter shoots him into the same unfilled pool he promised his son at the beginning of the season, but Ray gets the last word on Fisk. In a posthumous video, after saying goodbye to Sammy and his wife, Agent Nadeem uses a legal loophole to send Fisk back to prison. Basically, if a ghost accuses someone of a crime, they're automatically guilty. I think that's how it works. I really like how hard Ray fights to make up for the mistakes he made in the FBI, showing that while Fisk can corrupt people, they can still fight back against him, and not just our protagonists. And of course, Matt ultimately does not kill Fisk, because of course he wasn't gonna. He may light a ninja on fire if he's like about to die himself, but just snapping a dude's neck is a little different. And I'm really glad they didn't, because if they kill off D'Onofrio's Fisk, Casual Classroom is also being killed off. And now we're gonna wait about 6 years before I talk about Born Again. Recreate the pain of the fans. After a fittingly hellish wait, Daredevil has returned to grace the superhero TV landscape, and it is really good. It's really, really good. I'm sorry, grifters and doomsayers, but we are back. It obviously can't use the plot from the Born Again comic, not just due to so much of it being used in Season 3, but because Ben Urich is very important to that story. And very dead. But that aside, Born Again is clearly taking on its own meaning for this show, and we really are so back. I'm not going to spoil anything that wasn't in the trailers. I also only watched one of the trailers, but I watched it like 1,000 times, so... Daredevil has retired, with Matt Murdock living his life, and Wilson Fisk has returned to New York City to run for mayor. There's a really cool return of Bullseye that I really hope isn't the only one, and my only complaint is that the CGI can be a little ropey, but oh my god, we're so back. The dynamic between Matt and Fisk has evolved to a really interesting point, more friendly than ever.
I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again.
We haven't seen as much of the original cast as I would like, but hopefully we'll be getting more of them in the rest of the season. And the new characters like Cherry, Matt's new girlfriend, and White Tiger are really interesting so far. One detail I actually like more than the Netflix series so far is the direction. One-shot fight scenes became a really fun staple of the series, but Born Again feels more thoughtful with the camera, especially in scenes that focus on Matt alone. The camera doesn't move in a way to visually present information, it moves in a way to convey how Matt perceives information. I'm also really excited to see Punisher, Muse, and I'm personally hoping we see Melvin Potter again, but the series is great so far. In closing, Your Honor, what more do you need me to say? I mean, it's Daredevil. This shit is still perfect. It's still peak. This is still the best TV show to ever come out of the MCU, and one of the best things to ever come out of the MCU. For me, it's really just competing with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But folks, that is the video for this week. Thank you so much for joining us as always. I hope you had fun. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. If you made it to this point in the video, a double thank you so much. It feels good to see again. Wow, that was a fun bit to do for that video though, I liked it. I got a new desk chair. That's kind of the main thing I'm showing off for my collection this week. I do have something, but yeah, new desk chair. The stuff that people throw out is crazy, man. Like, this chair it's very nice. It's got a nice Tempur-Pedic seat for my fat little bottom, for my fat bony little bottom with my fat bones. That was stupid. But it's a lot like rollier than my old chair, so I'm kind of having it's also got much more of a supportive back. The last one was just straight up and down. So I'm kind of figuring out how I like to record in this one yet. Like, do I ever want to kick it back, hit the kingly. But oh my god, Daredevil season 3 is so good so far. Little spoiler, if you're not caught up, go away. the White Tiger Hector Ayala stuff was fucking heartbreaking. Like in the great way that like a Daredevil show should be, where like it makes you really feel like Matt Murdock, where it's like, hey, things are not going so bad for a sec, and then no, they're bad still. They're bad because of the Kingpin. That's the thesis in a lot of Daredevil comics. But what I've just dropped my collection this week is Haikyuu Volume 18. I believe this is 18. Yeah, I love Haikyuu, but I need to like read it more consistently. The problem is I don't like ordering books on Amazon. It's like more convenient, but like I don't like giving Amazon more money than they have. Like if I go to my local bookstore, it's still going to a corporation, but like it's a smaller one. And, like, at least they have a physical store in my city. Like, I like that, at least. I don't like ordering books on Amazon very much. I like putting on my little white tie and tails, popping down to the old book depositorium, and purchasing a few. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, yeah, they're playing Shiro Torizawa right now. It's so fun. They got this little red-haired guy, like, here. I think I'm kind of pointing to him. His name is either Kendo or Tendo, I can't remember. But he's like this crazy blocker guy. He's like if the Joker was a blocker in volleyball. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.